Welcome to a GM Tips sidebar episode. And this episode is really going to be about how can you enhance your GM tips watching videos, kind of like this one. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. Again, none of these videos are gospel for you as a GM. You don't have to follow the techniques and things. But in work one time, and this has stuck with me in all areas of my life. In work one time, my boss, or at the time, which was a salesman who was training me. I don't know if he was my direct boss. He just was the guy that was my mentor. He said to me, "Rick, you know, the greatest thing I can tell you in what you are doing is always be a learner and realize you will be learning until the day they bury you in the ground." And he would say it with an Irish lilt because he was second generation Irishman. And he said, the day you quit learning, the day you think you know it all, the day you think you have it figured out, it's time to go hang up your hat and go golfing. And really, I think that applies for GM. So often we GM for long periods of time. I have DM and GM for over, let me think about that. It was almost probably 47 now. I was 13, so 34 years. 34 years. Now I took a little bit of a hiatus for about probably 4 or 5 years. But other than that, I have been gaming that long, and I've been GMing that long, and I've been DMing that long before that. And I will say this, because I've GM'd everything from Gamma World to Traveler to you name the old games, Top Secret. I did all the different type of old systems. And the one thing I think that so often we as GMs forget is that we are constantly learning how to get better at what we do. Yesterday's session, and I know I posted a thing on it, just talking about the greatness of it in an epic session. It really showed me that I am never too old to learn. I give a lot of props to my Twitter buddy, Evil Squeegee, and he spells it Squeegee, and his bunch, including Sarah P. and Tech Yumi and some of the others that run in their group. I learned so much just sitting in 2 of his sessions. And the great thing is, I don't think he thinks he has it figured all out. None of us do. It is a learning process that GMs and DMs will be learning for years. Like I've told you before and things, the basic thing that I've learned watching the videos is we're not here to kill the players. Our job is not to be the bad guy, the antagonist. Though we do run antagonists sometimes. Sometimes we run protagonists. Sometimes we run neutrals. Sometimes we run a little bit of everything. And the real key at the end of the day is we are the one that outlines a story and is beginning to create a universe where players can really live out some of the things they dream to do with their characters. And I think that's something that, when you think about it, that's really what you are. You are the person that is spinning the web of creation and the creative juices. Your players are the one putting little story things to the ink that you're putting to the page. They're the one writing the words and the dialogue. Yes, you have some of that dialogue, but you're not the whole dialogue. If you're the one talking all the time and spending the most time talking, then there's a problem, guys and ladies. There really is. And I think at the end of the day, you got to look at, you should talk a little and then let your players talk. Yesterday, I probably talked 40 to 50% of the time. The other 40 to 50 was my group, and I loved it. I saw a player that normally has been kind of in the background because he's unsure of the system, and he's played now 3 paths. This is the 3rd one, and 3rd campaign he's done with me. And he has blossomed into one of the most funny, fun, interesting players in the group. And I love them all. I'll tell you right now, my whole party of players right now that I have are probably some of the best that I have had in years. And I've had some good ones over the years. players. Don't get me wrong. And if some of you take slight to that have played with me, please understand. I love playing with you too. I have had some really greats over the years that have made me laugh and enjoy what I do. And in this one, he said to me after the session, and this really touched me. He said, Rick, I have played the first session with you with Skulls and Shackles in Venture Path. And he said, and that was proxy. And I was kind of there. I was all on for the ride. And then he said, I played the second one with Carrying Crown, and I was a little more involved, but I still was not used to the rogue mechanics, because he went from a cleric to a rogue. And so his rogue was all right, but he wasn't used to the mechanics. He started coming to life at the end. But we have a couple strong personalities in our group, so sometimes he got overshadowed. This campaign, by far, he is the lead guy. And everybody else's personalities shine, don't get me wrong. No one sits back and does nothing. They all shine at some point. But he has really become the rogue of rogues to me. And he has had so much fun doing it. And I love how he comes out of himself. It is so much fun. And this came from watching videos of other GMs where I learned how to draw players out of themselves and to be more than what they are when they start a session or start a campaign with me or start playing with me as a GM. And I think you've got to look at that too. What are you doing to learn techniques to help your players to come to life, to really embrace the role play, to really love the character they created, to really just get into the story? I could have gotten mad at one of my players. He's got a War Priest Azamar, and at the last session, and he'll tell you, he and I bumped a few times. Now, he and I are great friends outside the game. Don't get me wrong. He's one of my best friends outside the game. But during the game, he and I bumped. And this time I said, you know what? I'm going to let him have as much rope as he wants to go out and play. And unless he does something just way out in left field, I'm going to continue to let him play. And I'm going to continue to let him be his best. And he's become that. And I think yesterday it was so cool because I was making suggestions to him about how to do his signature maneuver, which is now a death from above. It's the attack feat that allows him to come down with such force that he just obliterates. And it's not massive damage, but it's good damage. And he just takes an opponent out. And I love that because for him, that's where he gets the big smile with his guy. That he gets to be the hero that comes down with that one fantastic move that just devastates an opponent. And so, really, when you're a GM, you're looking at ways, when you're learning from these videos, to do better at what you do. Today, when I was watching Evil Squeegee, he was designing a exotic dance club for fantasy. I'm like, oh, Squeegee, you're doing a strip club for things, and he and my fine British gentleman who was in there as well were doing the design of this. And what was so much fun is he said, okay, what are the risks of the players going here? So I threw out something, and he goes, no, Rick, that's the monster. And I said something else. He goes, no, that's the trap. And he kept leading me to understand that risk is not the monster. It's not the trap. It's by going into that room, you can come in contact with a situation that could be potentially dangerous. So think about that a little bit. How many of us would have said that about risk? Not a lot of us. And again, it's something that I learned that I wrote in my notebook. And I write these in my notebook on the front pages so that when I'm designing and when I'm in my creative modes, I can really think about how do I take this and make it better. And I gotta say, guys, and for those who are playing in my campaign that are watching, know that I'm going out of my way heavily to improve as GM for you. I really do want to make this a memorable campaign that we look back and you say, Rick, I can't wait for the next campaign we play. That was so much fun, and I got so much out of it. And really, I think that's it. I think as we study our books, as we watch videos, we've got to have people that mentor us to get better, even if we've done it for a long time. Sometimes that's the worst enemy to us as DMs and GMs. You got to think about it. I've DM and GM 30 years. What do I need to learn, right? Lots. Because maybe I'm good at one thing, but maybe I'm not very good at 3 more things. So I want to look at, and so I guess now getting to the nuts and bolts, what can you take away from this? Number 1, look at and give yourself an honest assessment. Where am I strong as a GM? And where am I not strong? 2 sides of a chart. Lay it out and put those down. Then ask your friends and fellow gamers who have gamed with you. Where am I strong? Where am I not? And show them what you put down and let them add to it. Don't get offended by this. You know what? Sometimes a self-snapshot is not where we should be offended. And we shouldn't be offended. And I'm going to say that. Don't take offense at things, because you're going to think, well, I'm really good at this. Why are they giving me a challenge to do better at this? I thought I was great at it. Well, let's be honest. We're our own worst friends and enemies sometimes. So be honest and brutal and let them give you a self-assessment. You won't regret it. Number 2, then find material and topics on how to make you better at what you're not so strong at. Pick up the GM's guide, pick up the DM's guide, pick up the core rule books for play. Pick up other things, because those are the things that are going to really help you to expand what you can do. And you really need to look at that. And I'm kind of doing that myself. The self-introspection that you've got to really think about, where can you get better? And you want to get happy when it comes to doing this, because this is a good self-assessment. So self-assessed, find the materials and listen. 3, don't be afraid to shift your paradigm. Now, I'm using a term out of Stephen Covey there for those of you who don't understand paradigms. Paradigms is how you look at life, okay? Maybe you're introverted. Maybe you're extroverted. Maybe you are cynical. Maybe you are optimistic. Your paradigm is going to have lots of things that are built into it on how you view life. Well, the same is true of gaming and game mastering. What is your paradigm of game mastering? What have you come to understand is what game mastering should be? And then is it the best paradigm? Or are there ways you can shift that paradigm and how you totally think? A perfect example of it. A lot of GMs and DMs think, I am writing the monsters and the antagonists and the negative side of the story, and it's us versus them mindset. I know a lot of you don't think that way, but there's some of you that do. That's a paradigm in itself. And is it really the paradigm of what a GM should be? Maybe you think, okay, I'm here to let the players have fun and get an adventure that they're never going to forget. But you're willing to allow them to do that at the expense of obstacles, and you make it easy for them. And they pretty much call the shot of whatever they want. Is that the best paradigm for you? See, it's all in how we look at things. And I think that's very important. Some of you will say, well, no, I'm just an introvert. I don't know how to be an extrovert. Let me tell you something. You want to hear a paradigm shift? And this is something that I look back at my life and I'm amazed by. Growing up, from the time I was about 3 or 4 years old to the time I was 17, I was an introvert. I basically did not. Sorry. But I came the distance of basically going from an introvert to an extrovert. Now, what does that mean? You can get a whole lot of psychological stuff. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, look up Briggs-Myers, mother-daughter couple. They analyze personalities and how you basically charge your batteries. Do you charge them alone in a room? That's an introvert. Do you charge them in a room of people? That's an extrovert. I went from charging them alone in a room, playing with my imaginary friends, and oh yes, guys, I would literally see invisible people around me that were my friends. And I would talk to them and do all that crap. That's how creative I was. And I don't fault my little 4-year-old right now does the same thing. And so I went from that to just loving being around people. Now, you talk about a shift, and some of you say, well, I'm just introverted. I'm not a people person. I can't do that. You know what I'm going to tell you? Bull. You can do whatever you set your heart to. And I'm going to say this to you as GMs and gamers, because some of you doubt and have low self-esteem. And I'm going to tell you right now, shift your paradigm. You are not insignificant. You are not unimportant. You are not unworthy. You are not worthless. You are not inept or bad at what you do. Don't ever tell yourself these records or play these records in your head. I know sometimes we grow up with them. Stop it. So what if you're a geek? Love being a geek. So what if you're a gamer? Embrace it and enjoy it. You are a wonderful thing. And I'm 47 years old going on 48. And let me tell you something. I let my geek flag fly. And if people don't like it, oh well. I found out one of my customers that I called on in the oil and gas industry is a huge D&D guy. We never connected before that. And as soon as I told him I played Pathfinder, instant connection. Instant. That's what I'm going to tell you in life. You can't doubt what you are or that you can change or grow or evolve into gaming. You can become whatever your heart desires. You just have to be determined to get there and lay out a course to take you there. Some of that, though, you've got to change that paradigm, because otherwise you're going to really put yourself in a rut. And finally, love learning new things. If you have a desire and love to learn and always grow and always expand what you know, you will get better and better. You'll never arrive, but you'll get better at what you do. So, my thing, we like to move it, like the song says that I'm listening to with the little one. You need to move it and learn. You need to move it and become a better GM. You need to move it and watch other GM videos. You need to not be critical, because they're going to say things that are going to help you. This is a very critical GM tips. I hope it helps a bunch of you to overcome some of the fears and doubts and some of the places you are in ruts as a GM or DM, and helps you embrace growth. Thanks.